us. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to your usual Sunday morning staple, Eye on Dependency. Good morning, Natasha.
Good morning, Garth. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
And thank you once again, folks, for joining us and your overwhelming response to last week's program. A lot came out of it, I must assure you, and we are back here today to continue to put the icing on the cake, so to speak. And we have Daniel here with us, and we also have in studio Wayne. And Wayne, as you know, from the restoration group of the Emmanuel Community, he will let us know about the community and what they can do for you or a loved one who's struggling with the addiction called gambling. As we said in the promo, just like all addictions, they require treatment, they require interventions, and we know that there are those out there who are struggling. But remember, the first step to recovery is admitting that one has a problem and willing to surrender and get the help needed. Now, it sounds easy, but it's not. That's the catch. And this is why we call on all producers, just like we call on the crack pushers and other pushers out there, to take responsibility. There's one entity so far that took responsibility for that, and we thank them for that. And need I remind you, I speak of the NLCB, but we'll deal with that later on. For now, we have in studio Daniel. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, Mr. Sinclair. Good morning, Natasha. Good morning to my good friend, Mr. Wayne, and to Trinidad and Tobago. Blessed morning.
Yes, and Natasha?
Yes, we also plan to share a little bit of the interview that we did 10 years ago now, strangely enough, with GamCare, which is an organization, a non-profit organization in the UK that provides support to problem gamblers and their families, much like the work that Wayne is doing with Emmanuel Community. So we will actually share the first video that we have to share with you is a compilation of some PSAs that GamCare has recently put out, and it touches on some of the very important issues that people have raised with them. They have a hotline, so they receive thousands of calls from gamblers and from family members. And this clip kind of highlights some of the issues that people or families who are having a problem with gambling go through. So I hope we will be able to touch on some of those issues that are raised by the persons in the PSAs.
The thing about GamCare is that, and as the name implies, care for gamblers or problem gamblers, we discovered them in the United Kingdom, so we decided to go interview them. And it turns out that we had a group right here in Trinidad that did the same thing, just that GamCare did do it on a larger scale, and they get support directly from, well, the lottery commission, the lottery board out there.
And from the industry as well.
And from the industry as well.
Itself, because they do have their hotline number on every ticket, in every casino, on every machine, so that the help that is available is front and center for gamblers themselves. Not so obvious for their families, but their reach is tremendous, and they have been able, in the 25 years that they've been in existence, to help thousands and thousands of families.
Yes, and when we discovered them, we came back to Trinidad and we approached the NLCB, that was 10 years ago, to do the same thing here.
Yep.
You know, as the leading premier, how should I describe? Gaming institution, right.
Yes.
And,
legal gaming institution.
Yes. And it took some arm twisting, but eventually this dispensation of the NLCB decided, okay, we hear you, and we will start with the posters. Speaking of which, we have to have a new interjection of posters around the country, because some of them are missing. But and then Wayne and Daniel will tell you around this time what happens to people who are problem gamblers. So let's go quickly to video B.
Yes.
Let's go to that. That's while you settle in. Remember, you can join us as well on Iron Dependency's Facebook page. That's EYE on Dependency at Facebook or YouTube. And keeping in mind, we have convention on today. We have World Cup on. So, these situations here are always challenged. But we will try our best to see who we could reach this morning. So let's go to that video, Gary.
According to Andy, the modern world has embraced gambling as an acceptable leisure activity, and 75% of adults in the UK gamble in some way. However, it's also recognized as an activity that can cause potential harm. It is at this point that GamCare intervenes.
Why is it so hard to talk to my dad? What am I meant to say? Dad, I'm gambling and I'm in so much debt. Where'd you start with that one?
There's no shame in seeking help. We've supported hundreds of thousands of people in the last 25 years. When you can't find the words, we've got you.
Where are you? Your gambling is really affecting us all. The mortgage, the bills. I'm desperate to help, but how? I love you, I'm scared. I feel powerless. I've got to talk to someone.
If gambling is taking hold of the one you love, talk to GamCare. We understand it doesn't just affect them, it affects you too. When you're worried you're losing them, we've got you.
We don't judge. We don't make any assumptions. We just listen. Anyone can lose control of their gambling. I've been there. I sought help for my gambling 10 years ago. Now I listen and support others. I'll work with you to help get your life back on track. Over the last 25 years, GamCare has helped thousands of people. We understand. We're here for you. We've got you.
Girls, I'm gambling, and it's got out of hand. Can't tell them that, can I? I just feel totally embarrassed. We share everything. But how do you bring that up?
When your gambling is making you feel isolated, speak to GamCare. It can happen to anyone. We provided help to over 28,000 people on our helpline last year. When you feel like you can't talk about it, we've got you.
Right, so that was a snippet of some of the outreach that GAMCare does. I suppose taken from some of the many calls that they would receive, and we saw Daniel responding, especially to the first one.
Yes.
With the son and his dad.
So we'll start with Daniel again, and
Yes.
and I'm sure Wayne could tell us the amount of calls that they've gotten too as well when we speak with him. But Daniel, you the first video with the guy and his dad, that touched a nerve in you. Why is that?
Because it's true, especially when you know what your father stands for. How really and truly do you just break the ice and say, well, I'm gambling, and you know, or you have an expectation of what the reaction may very well be. You don't expect it to be a welcoming response. You don't, especially if you know the temperament of the individual may be aggressive or authoritarian, or as the case may be. It's not easy to go and tell someone you love and care about you, and especially holds you in high esteem, that listen, I have a problem. It really isn't. And the first person my father actually heard of my issue from wasn't me. Was other persons who are in the industry that saw me in casinos and actually told him. And then he asked me, and it wasn't easy. Sometimes I had to sneak, I had to hide. One time I peeped from the car window coming up the street, and I saw him in the air. I parked the car by the doctor, and I ran away. I ran back down the street. So it wasn't easy to face. It really wasn't.
Why you think you're that? And later on we'll ask you, how could people raise this issue? Because I'm sure there are hundreds of people out there who thinking, how can I tell my wife or my husband or my mother or father what I'm doing? But your father, how did he approach when he found out the first time?
Thankfully, the first time was just a caution, but at other times it wasn't just that, you know. And I came to the place where now I understand why his reaction was as it was, because
so he called you on the phone or in person and said, "Look, is it true?"
Well, actually, no, in person, because remember, as I said, I work with him, right. You know. So there was one time we were leaving office to go to do some business on the road, and he just was out with it. Some people tell me, you're in casinos gambling, and gambling hard, you're betting heavy. I say, who tell you that? He say, you don't worry, who tell me? He say, I told you already, I'm a well-known person, and a lot of people know me, and they know you. So they're going to come and tell me where they're seeing you. Okay, that was all right. And then another time when it really got bad, I had the keys to the office at that time. I opened the office and I wrote him a note. I say, Daddy, this thing gone too bad. I don't think I am worthy to be your son anymore. Everything that you had promised for me as an inheritance, give it to my sisters. I left the keys and I left that note on his desk, and I walked up and I laid on a bench around the savannah. Right? He didn't, my mother, my father, nobody saw me for at least 2 weeks. And then I knew that he had a truck to repair, and it was going at my uncle's garage. And bright and early every morning I found myself there to help repair the truck. And that is how he was able to catch me, because just as I was about to put up the last wheel, my uncle said, go in and get something for the truck and come back. And he went out the street and he called my father. And my father came, and he couldn't do nothing. He was just moved to his people. What's going on with you, boy? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, even though I said, listen, I'm not good enough, at least at the end of the day, I still found myself there to assist. Because I said, at the end of the day, even though I may falter, you still have my sisters and my mother to provide for. So I kind of looked at it like that.
So you went around the savannah, you said?
Yeah, around the savannah.
So you weren't sleeping at home? So where were you sleeping?
Well, at one time I would bunk by one of my cousins in Simeon Road. Then I found myself in Laventille on a back road, sleeping on the porch of one of my cousins under a rug. Nobody knew I was there. It was only when they got up in the morning they saw me there. They were so disturbed that they ended up fencing their property. Right? So, yeah, they were really troubled by that. So it wasn't easy. It turns you into a person, or should I say something that you really are not, because you don't feel comfortable operating within your normal space. You don't feel comfortable at all, especially when you know the effect it is having on those that are around you. You don't feel comfortable. Every time you're in their presence, you're agitated, you're anxious. You're just not comfortable.
So was it, let me ask, so was it I going from here because I want space to do my own thing, or let jump in me? Because what you're saying to me sounding really familiar, and it's so ironic that the journey of a gambler, a gambling addict, is almost similar to a crack addict.
Yeah.
Because I wanted out because, I tell my mother I ran away from home, but I was actually downstairs in the empty apartment, and I stayed there, kept quiet until she went to work, and then, but was it that you wanted space to do your thing? Because while around the savannah, while out there, were you still gambling, or you had stopped?
Well, money ran out, so there was no fuel to continue the fire. But of course, as I said before, I said last week, I still use my cell phone contact list as my personal ATM. Right. So whoever I could get a little 300, a little 200 borrow from, I go find somebody who I know very well to take a bath, dress myself, and go to the casino. And if I win, I win. But at that time, that was just dumb luck. Every time I go, I would lose. Because once it reaches a certain stage, you don't win again. You just continue to lose and lose and lose and lose and continue the downward spiral until that intervention is actually made.
And how was that intervention made for you? Was it a case of you reaching out directly for help, or someone intervening?
No, actually, when my mother saw how toxic the relationship between my father and I, she reached out to Wayne here through the Emmanuel Community. She was the initiator. And on my first instance, both my mother and father accompanied me, because at that time, I was just a teenager. I was only 19, so they accompanied me there. They sat with me. My mother sat for a couple months, and then she allowed my father and I to go, And I don't know if we would remember, but one of the things my father said to him, he said, listen, I am here not only for him, but I'm here for me, because I need to understand what's going on with this boy, because for right now, well, I know to tell you what you say.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, let's bring you in here now.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, folks, and we have Daniel and Wayne in studio. And if you're having problems on Facebook, I see you can join us on YouTube. That's I on Dependency, EYE on Dependency on YouTube. It's a more stable, it's a stabler feed. So you can join us there. And of course, welcome those of you on I-95.5 FM. You wanted to ask Wayne a question?
Yes, I wanted to bring him in to share about who are based on what we just watched, the video we just watched and what we just heard from Daniel, are the people who reach out to you the gamblers themselves or their relatives?
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, folks of Trinidad and Tobago. Got Natasha. The thing about it is that most people, they only seek help when they hit rock bottom. I mean, it happened to me too also. It didn't happen to me like Daniel. I had a loving family that cared about me. I think most of them knew that something was going on. They weren't too clear about it. But in every case, when we hit rock bottom, it happened to me also when I hit the rock bottom. Was a businessman, lost everything. I almost lost my family, to be honest. Was away from them for about a year and 3/4. It was decided that my wife and my children would stay with my mother-in-law, and I would stay with my mother. And similar to Daniel, my mother was an advocate like Mary. She stood in the gap. In fact, when it happened to me, I had borrowed a lot of money from even my brothers and sisters and couldn't pay back, and then they couldn't see me at all. You see, the thing about gambling is that you have to recognize that you do have a problem.
Sure.
And the thing about it is that most siblings or parents or brothers and sisters, they love you. And what happens is that they feel that, well, maybe you have a little problem, but you know, he will get over it, hoping that everything will be all right. The mistake most families make is not rocking the boat.
Mm.
And then when it is discovered, you know, and they hit rock bottom, it's a bigger problem.
So
what is rock bottom for a gambler?
Well,
or problem gambler, I should say.
Rock bottom is where you hit, where there's no money left, no finances at all, where there's chaos within the family unit, relationships are broken, where the addict relationships with their wives, their children, their brothers, their sisters, their mother have been broken because of mistrust now. Where there's no money to pay bills, mortgages, loans, all the money have gone and you don't know what to do.
You reach a dead end.
Yeah. Dead end. Now, there are 4 stages in gambling. For the 4 phases or the 4 stages, the first one is the winning stage, where for the first time you go there with friends, just a line, you play a game, you lose, then you start winning. You may have started with $100, and somehow or the other, you win.
And you have $1,000 now anyway.
And now you have $1,000, and now you walk away and say, this is easy.
Mm-hmm.
This is easy. And then after that, you go back, maybe with the same friends. And then you gamble, separate them, because this time, instead of $100 you bring, you probably bring that same 1,000, an extra 1,000, because you see a way to win money easy. So you may break even after a period of time. Then you go back, instead of going back with friends, you go on your own.
Yep.
Because you don't want your friends and them to see what you're gambling. I mean, that happened to me. Mm-hmm. And then the money that you put away for your livelihood, to pay your bills, your mortgage, your car, whatever it may be, you decide, well, look, you lose one set of money, you have to get it back because you did it before.
You're chasing.
So you're chasing the, I call it, you're chasing the dragon's tail. True. You go back and you start losing. Now, when that happens, you reach in the losing stage. You start losing money that really you should not be losing.
True.
And then the third stage, after a period of time, you go to the desperate stage, because now you have lost money for your livelihood and you need to get it back. So you either start borrowing money from friends, families, banks, taking out of credit unions, cashing in your insurance policies, because you have to save face now because you realize how stupid I am. So you keep on gambling. Now, when all that is gone, you reach the fourth stage, which is hopeless stage. Now, these stages take sometimes a year, sometimes more than a year, sometimes they take years to reach. But it reached that stage that you have lost everything. You have isolated yourself. Your social life have gone through the roof. The people you used to line with, play football with, socialize with, go to maybe a little bit of parties, you don't have that anymore. because you're too afraid now. You're too afraid.
That they will know
Yeah.
what is happening.
Yeah, the shame, the remorse,
Guilt.
the guilt, the pity. Why it could happen to me? You know?
Let's say you had a group of about 4 or 5 friends that you rely with. Each one of them you would call separate and try to get some money from them.
Yeah.
So, and then when you make the full circle,
Yeah.
you realize well, you had to stay away from them.
Yeah. So you're by yourself now.
And it must have one person in that group will say, "We didn't call you."
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
family members say it. I mean, it happened to me.
Yeah.
It happened to me.
Then somebody will call home out of concern. Sometimes the person who asks that question looking for bacchanal too, right? You know, we didn't call you because he called me yesterday
really
and gave me a story.
Bacchanal, you know, you may have borrowed from him and you want to find out what in heaven's name.
When I get
What's
my
going
money
on?
back.
When I'm going to get back my money.
Right.
You know?
Because they will start asking, wait, now how we not coming in alignment with these days? What's going on? And then somebody will get the bright idea to ask the question.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, Wayne, what was your first? Because what you described there was I cannot help but you know, see how similar this is.
Yeah.
But
And you know, before you go, I was watching a video about the science of addiction and how
the brain reacts.
How the brain reacts.
Yeah.
And in this experiment with a compulsive gambler, they had him in an MRI scan.
Yeah.
And what the scientist revealed was that the triggers in his brain that would trigger the good feel chemicals and the high, the dopamine, was at the point of actually playing the game. So the anticipation of waiting to see if you're going to win or lose, and was the same as actually winning. So the process, the lead up to the winning, the anticipation, is
Correct.
just as strong, just as powerful an emotion as actual the high of winning.
Yeah. So like when somebody go play a mark, waiting for that draw
to see if you
win,
is just as powerful as the actual
Yes.
high of winning,
Oh,
which I
yes.
thought was fascinating.
The thing about it is that the same high you were talking about there is real stuff you're talking about when God is saying that the same high you get from cocaine, you know. But not only that, when you gamble $100 or $200, I mean, some people can go to the casino or anywhere to gamble, and they use it for recreation, and then they'll just walk away. I mean, in the olden days when I didn't have a job, anything like that, I used to carry 2 ladies to a casino, and I used to warn them about this, and they knew about my story also. But they go to the casino, and when they go to the casino and I pass and pick them up, let's say 12:30 in the night, I would go and look for them, and I really don't want to go inside, but they're missing in action, and they're old. They're talking about 79, 82 years old. And I'd go inside and pick them up, and they would be there watching the entertainment. They had their free drinks, and they come out of the casino, and I'm holding on to them, coming down the steps from Grand Bazaar. And then they will look angry. I say, "What happened, Auntie?" They say, "The damn casino, they take my money." I say, I warned you all about that. I warned you all about that. I hope you didn't lose too much. Yes, we lose. I say, "How much you lose, Auntie?" She said, $200. I said, $200? You mean each? She said, "No, $100 each, but damn vexed about it." They put a limit.
Yes.
God bless them because they enjoy life, you know. And I'm not here to say, to advocate that our group would say close down all the casinos and everything like that. I'm here to just explain the dangers of compulsive gambling. In fact, in 2016, if I'm straying a little bit now, 2016, article came out in the papers, and the present finance minister was commenting on it. He says the gaming industry and the lotto is $16 billion a year. $16 billion a year. That's
In
2016. That's collectively.
Right. 16 billion.
Yeah, 16 billion.
Right.
12 billion is the gaming, and another 6 million. Lotto now started to get popular. Now, there were 20,000 gaming machines all over Trinidad. It was spreading. On top of that, they employ 7,000 people. And 4,000 outlets had these 20,000 gaming machines. The question is this. Now we are in 2022. There are a lot more gaming machines out there. And they are not, there's no legislation to see what is going on.
Regulation.
God shared some information with me some years ago. I don't know if you remember, I think the first interview we did in 102 FM. And when you went, you and Natasha went to GAMCare.
Right.
You brought back some valuable information that I use today at Emmanuel Center.
Okay.
Other than the teachings we got at Emmanuel Center. And Emmanuel Center, as you know, is a Catholic organization. And everything that we do, we report to our Archbishop Jason Gordon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We report to him.
Okay,
Right?
great.
So these machines and them now in 2022, there's much more. But there's no legislation to see whether or not that the poor class are taking advantage of it. I draw reference to this. If you go on YouTube and you see slot machines, in UK and United States, in all different states, there are laws to regulate this. It means to say every slot machine, when the legislation is there, and it's there, the fixed odds machine are the slot machines and them. Whereas somebody who's authorized goes in and they put the odds on the machine, the slot machines, roulette tables. When he finishes that, he puts a seal on it. If he comes back and the seal is broken, there are penalties.
Okay.
There are penalties for the casino owner. Now, why is this? And then there are a lot more addicts around in the UK.
Yes, millions.
Now in the UK, these slot machines and the roulette tables, the legislation according to the state you're in, same thing as United States. They might fix the odds to say, okay, the life of the machine, we'll take 10% of it. So in other words, 90% must be taken. In other words, if you put $100, $90 must come out of the machine.
Right, okay.
Okay?
Yes.
In United States, it might be, I'm just saying a figure, it might be 15%, might be 20%. My good colleague and God bless his soul, John Mackay told me he was in Las Vegas and he knows there's a little, like a odds, telling you what are the odds. And he says 20%. I don't know, it's true, he told me that. So it means to say when they fix the machine, if you go on YouTube, you'll get it. They put a seal and the odds is fixed in that.
So, okay, so let's get this clear to those who are casino gamblers. So when you say the odds, what it means that what you have a chance, you have a 20% chance or 30% chance of winning something?
You see, the machines are geared for entertainment, right?
Entertainment.
Entertainment, yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, right?
Every bar right now that have a license, they allow 20 gaming machines inside there. But you know what? The difference between away and over here is that there's no legislation for somebody to check. So they could put the odds at anything you want. The machine could pull in $20,000 and only spit out $2,000.
Oh, right. That's what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm trying to get.
So the house
always
percentage
right.
will be higher than
So which means then, so somebody could spend up the entire day by a machine and win nothing, and then the person the next day somebody come and just put in the first token and win.
Exactly.
Okay.
I feel good. I think they win, and they'll come back again and lose more.
Right. Oh, I see. Right. Good. So those of you listening, I hope you understand now what we're trying to get here. And thank you those who just joining us. We have Daniel and Wayne in studio telling us about they both recovered from gambling addiction, and they're now sharing their stories with us. Before we take this break, I just wanted Wayne to clear this up, and we'll come back to Daniel, and we give Andrew a call in a while, who's well, I had no idea that this is the Andrew you were telling me about, who was hooked on gambling. And remember, folks, if the Facebook stream giving problems, you can join us on YouTube, EYE, on Dependency on YouTube. And while you're there, those of you watching us right now from YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel and keep those numbers climbing. Okay, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. So again, because we've seen this in Las Vegas many times, where somebody just come and they put the first token and then you say ding, 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 ding. But it had like 20 people before that person. So that's how it works, really.
Yeah.
That's the odds you're talking about.
Yeah. But the rules and regulations and stuff like that, there's nothing over here. In fact, in the South District, I tell you, in the South District, they are foreigners. I wouldn't say the nationality, but they are foreigners who come from abroad with little or no money at all. And within a year, they drive in Audi, big cars, BMW and stuff like that. And I asked the question for one of the people. They said, but how he just come from this person and this country, and he wasn't that way, and how he driving that? He said, because he opened a little bar, he have machines in the bar, and that's how he make his money. Yeah. In fact, one of our members themselves came for counseling, and after he got well and everything, I met him about 4 years after, because people come to Emmanuel Community for counseling, and when they get well, you probably don't see them at all. Right. Unless, of course, we call for help, and then they're there. Yes. But this character, he met me in a gas station, Fullington Gas. That's about a year ago. He said, hey, brother Wayne, how you going? You remember me? I said, yeah, I remember you. So how you going, boy? He said, going good. He said, but I must come confess something to you, you know. I said, what it is? He said, well, I come for counseling for gambling addiction. And now I'm running a business. I say, running, what kind of business? He said, well, I have a little bar and, I have a roulette table. And boy, how much money I'm making. I said, but, that's wrong. You contributed to the problem. What you're contributing to is broken marriages, children are not having school books. What you doing? He said, oh, God, but it's a living. I said, well, I hope you could answer to God about that, because, we spoke on many times what those roulette tables, roulette machines and slot machines do. It's unregulated. There's no checks and balances. He said, yeah, but I said, think about it, because when you die and you have to see God, what are you going to tell him? You're just making a living?
The end justify the means.
So that's like me now getting drugs to go and push.
Yeah.
And giving somebody to sell drugs for me and
making money.
Yeah.
And that $16 billion that you mentioned, how much of that is going back into assisting problem gamblers with their problems? Very little. I mean, NLCB is doing their part, but for all of the small institutions, the bars and casinos, what is their contribution to the fallouts and the casualties?
Before you answer that, let's take a break, and when we return, we'll continue with these gentlemen here who've given us a very good education here this morning once again. And those of you out there who someone struggling with this problem, you know what to tell them. Okay? We'll be back. Stay right there.
Some of us like to play games of chance. But remember, gaming should be fun. So don't get carried away. Play for a prize, but don't pay the price. Play for fun, but never for keeps. Play smart, but never play all. Winning isn't everything. If you or someone you know needs help, call our gambling addiction hotlines. Rebirth House 24-hour hotline 466-3146 or Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women 794-7980. An initiative of NLCB and Eye on Dependency.
At Guardian Group, we've seen so many of our customers achieve great things. From key moments when together we've planned for the future to those unforgettable days when you've celebrated the rewards of those great decisions. So, it's no surprise that after 175 years, our optimism is stronger than ever. Because when you've partnered with people to achieve their best lives as long as we have, you tend to see the world a little brighter every day. Guardian Group. Live easy.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago, through the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, continues to develop and implement effective policies and procedures to prevent and suppress human trafficking. To date, the National Task Force has developed 2 national plans of action against the crime of trafficking in persons. Trinidad and Tobago adopts a 4-pronged approach in its response to human trafficking. 1. Effective identification of victims and witnesses. 2. Prevention of human trafficking. 3. Protection of victims and witnesses. And 4. Prosecution of suspected traffickers. In the Ministry of National Security, we established a specialized unit called the Counter-Trafficking Unit to lead and manage Trinidad and Tobago's response to human trafficking. The Counter-Trafficking Unit works closely with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Immigration Division, and international law enforcement agencies to aggressively and proactively investigate and prosecute suspected human traffickers. Human trafficking is a serious crime. Rest assured, the government of Trinidad and Tobago and its agencies remain committed in the fight against human trafficking and will respond with immediate effect when the need arises.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Staying with us, this is Eye on Dependency, and we are talking gambling addiction for the 2nd week in a row. And we have in studio Daniel and Wayne, who both have personal experience with compulsive gambling, and we appreciate you joining us on I-95.5 and on our YouTube channel and Facebook page.
Yes. So Daniel, you wanted to let's stay on this for a while. There's supposed to be some regulation with customs now and these machines. Can you elaborate a little bit of your knowledge?
Well, what I know for sure is that under Section 45 of the Customs Act, Chapter 7801, the importation of slot machines is prohibited. And what we know is that in the industry, they knock them down and bring them in as parts, and that's how they have so many slot machines in the country. But at the end of the day, of course, as my colleague said, that there are no real regulations or restrictions, and nobody's shutting anybody down because people making money.
That's it.
Right? Once we're making money, we don't really care for who we are hurting.
Yes.
It's by any means necessary, you know. And I have to reflect on the clip that you did for us where this woman was being sued by a casino. And they were chasing after her because they realized she had a problem. They was doing all sorts of things to her, and then she had to countersue. So in other words, you literally dangling this carrot in front of my eyes all the time for me to believe and feel, well, yes, I'm getting something. And what's sad too, sometimes if you're a regular in the casino like I was, some of the casinos end up giving you a marker, right? Which is they lending you money to continue to gamble, and you have to repay at a later time.
Right.
Right? This also happens in many of the casinos. Right? No.
Now,
it's not that
if they have to lend you money, then they know you have a problem, right? They must know.
And they know you're going to lose it too.
Correct.
Well, it's much more than that, you know, if I may.
Yes.
There were one person in the past that came to us for help. And interviewing him and talking to him, he said, Brother Wayne, I owe a casino a couple $1,000, and they give me that liberty because I suppose they know that I've been gambling there a long time and I look decent, and I don't know, they probably did a background check on me to see that, you know, I make good money. So after gambling all the money and getting that marker Daniel is talking about, he wasn't paying it because he's losing all the time. Right? He reaches limit in the marker. And he said, you know something, you know what they did? They called me in and they tell me, look, Mr. So-and-so, your credit rating is bad now. And I know you owe us money. So here what I want you to do. Take down this number, and we're going to try to help you.
Okay.
Right? He said I took down the number and called the organization. I wouldn't say which organization, but in other words, he went, and when he went there, he went to a lending agency, and the lending agency paid his gambling debt to the casino. Right? Exactly. He said, you don't find that's good? At least they help me out a bit.
Wow.
I say, yeah, they help you out a bit, but do you know that the lending agencies are also affiliated to the casino? Is the same owner. So what they actually did, they pay off the loan for you, but you're paying it off in pieces, but you're paying much more.
Interest. Because
you're paying interest. And not only that, they told him because of his credit rating is so bad, they would not, although it's cleared up now, they would not be able to give him any more money. But you know what? You could still come and play for cash if you have cash.
This sounds like bondage. This is that bondage.
But it goes deeper than that, you know. And suffice to say that by exposing certain things now, I have to talk the truth. There are places in the betting shops, in the casinos, that people, so-called money lenders, are there looking around.
I can testify to that.
And I could tell you this, how they operate is that if Daniel has a debt with you, and Daniel recognized that he's a gambler and, you know, he's not paying the debt to you timely. So Daniel spot Natasha. He would say, excuse me, I see you're getting a hard time. If you need money, go by this person. She glad for it. She go by God. She borrow money from God. Daniel now, he gets a percentage out of that. Now, these are not licensed money lenders. They use fear
intimidation.
And intimidation.
Because I was just about to ask, do they have henchmen now who would come after you and your family.
Of course.
Money lenders don't
Of
make
course.
joke that, you know that?
Of course. They have people like that around.
Of course.
In fact, one person that came to me, and he was heavily in debt, a money lender. And what happened is that eventually the parents who retired and had their own home had to sell the home to pay off his debts.
Wow.
Yeah. And there are also money lenders in areas around Trinidad and Tobago that if you want $40,000 or $50,000 and you have a nice car, maybe worth $100 and something $1,000, but you're a gambler. You come to that money lender by referral, or you get to find out you lend money, and the money lender will tell you, well, look, I need collateral. Leave your car here. I'll give you 30 or 40,000, whatever you want. But here what? You have to repay that in a certain amount of time. My interest rate's at 25 or 30%.
50 cents on every
Eh? So it means to say that after 1 week, not 1 month or not half a year, 25% a week or 30% a week. If you go and gamble the money, you then owe the money lender 30,000 or 40,000, 25% more. Himself, you pay $5,000 and you then pay the balance of it. That amount of money, it goes up the following week.
I did that 5 times, and that is why Daddy was very upset.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Sorry.
but there's a way to handle them. There's a way to handle them. God, believe me, there's a way to handle them. Okay? These guys are feeding off people, threatening people. Right? And people have to be aware, especially spouses and parents and stuff like that, to keep a check on their wives or their husbands or their brothers and sisters, where the money is going. And they come from all walks of life, you know. Addicts come from all walks of life, from retirees to young people.
Pensioners.
Yeah. It's a whole cycle. Now, I may be singing, people might say, you're saying that now, but you was in it. Yes, I was in it. I am not proud of what I've did in the past. I'm not proud of that, because some of the people that I owe previously, I have not repaid my debt to them. In fact, I'm blessed that a priest like, God bless his soul, Father Oliver, sent me to Emmanuel Community. It took years. It took years to come out my addiction. I'm not proud about the past. But you know what? I could do something about it to help other people. And that's why I'm here.
We have on the line Andrew, and he's going to join us now. Good morning, Andrew. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So you've been listening to the conversation. Can you tell us how you managed to be a part of this conversation?
To give you a nice long story, in high school, at a bazaar in high school, but not even the bazaar, before the bazaar, a friend had a lucky 7 table. Schoolboy too. And I win a little bit, lose a little bit, win a little bit, lose a little bit. And then realized I lost my bazaar money for the day. Lost every cent. Many years later, and following what Wayne just talked about, I went out with some business associates, and we were in the Mascam pub, and the casino next door brought across vouchers for everybody. And I went and I win. And that was the start of it, that little winning. You go back again, you might win or you might lose. And then you realize that although the winning thing not guaranteed, you realize something is wrong. When I got deep into it, I realized something was wrong by looking way back to high school and what happened to me. God, I always hear you talk about your first hit and how your first hit, there's is the reminder that sometimes it's a trigger for you. Not for you, but for people. And that first day, I keep going back and remembering that first day. And this is where I concur that what Wayne has been talking about for a little while, the fact that it is partly, well, not partly, it is mostly psychological. We have something in our heads that once we get started, it's pressure to stop. So we had to avoid getting started. Now, mind you, even in the position of being in one of these places and losing money, being a conscious person and you see young people come around you, you chase them out. I have sent UE students out of casinos. I have sent all kind of people out of casinos. They say misery like company. That is for weak minds. If you have a strong mind, if you have a strong personality and you know you're doing dotishness, you just try to help other people not to do it. So I literally used to run people out. Challenge was I couldn't run me out because I was hooked. Wayne talked about the fact that how you end up in debt and end up in all kind of craziness. That is real. That is so real. And we could sometimes mask it based on the life we live in, the business we're into, the money we have turning over. So we can mask it for a while. But at the end of the day, it comes back to haunt you because masking it simply means you're making money in your business and you're channeling that money into your good old habit. But when it comes to reconciling money, when it comes to doing accounts, when it comes to doing taxes, that comes back to haunt you.
So I have something to ask here that concerns me and this person on the phone here. If you're just joining us, folks, you listen to Dependency. And we have in studio Daniel and Wayne. Wayne being the point person at the Emmanuel Community Restoration Group. Daniel, a recovering gambler. And Andrew on the phone. Now, I've never had this situation on this program before, but the last time we met, and you notice my attitude towards you was always, dismissive. Because, and I want to know if back then you were gambling then, because I remember him coming to me, calling me one time and saying, we needed to invest some money in our business, and as soon as I get the profits, we will share the profits with you. Now, I'm yet to see those profits, and that was about 15 years ago. So I'm asking you now, was that part of that journey then?
Not part of the journey, because we were really looking at expanding. We were looking at some overseas stuff we were doing. So we were serious about that.
Because I was saying, he did me something that I can't do people and get away with. To this day, it still bothered me. But now when my Wayne told me about Andrew, and this confession going on here now, Wayne, and now I understand. Not that I couldn't, because in my job, in my quest here, I had to forgive people just like I want people to forgive me. And so I'm happy that we're having this conversation this morning, that I could get that out of the way, because every time I saw you, I was like, why he's even talking to me? Because you made a promise to me and you didn't keep it, you know. But I understand now, and all is forgiven. Amen. We can move on from here. So, you still there, Andrew?
Yeah.
Right. So so you remember that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So and so yeah, I understand now. And because we are all addicts, we are all part of a family that we made wrong choices and we want people to forgive us. And just like me, I want people to forgive me for my past sins. Just like Wayne said, you know, he was fortunate to have people forgive him of his past sins. The gentleman who I stole the equipment from, $76,000 worth of musical equipment that landed me in prison for 6 months. Natasha will tell you he comes to work out by me 3 times a week. And he was one of the owners of the band. But when I came out of prison, I went to him and I said, you know, I need your forgiveness. I was on cocaine and he and the family and I good today, you know. So,
as you mentioned that, you would also remember a time you told me that you were doing something, and I sponsored some, what was it?
Polos,
printed
yes.
Polos and things.
I still have it.
No. Mine gone through. I had kept one. They gone through. Now, all of that was within that time, you know. However, as I told you, depending on what you're doing, you're earning money.
Mm-hmm.
You could mask. You could live.
Yes.
I shouldn't say mask. You could cover.
Well, no, Daniel just used that same word here in studio. So yes, you're on the right track.
Yeah, you could cover.
Yes.
What you're doing.
Right.
Right. But it is a painful situation. It, as Wayne said, it affects families. It affects so much. And when you look back at things that you have not achieved, things that your family has not achieved, when you take a serious look back at that, that is where the pain comes in, because you realize how much you have lost as a result of that that road you were on. But the big part of that, the two main things that are required: spiritual intervention, and if you can get psychological help, counseling, psychologists, whoever. But you need those kind of interventions.
What was your rock bottom, Andrew?
What's that?
What was your rock bottom?
I know yet, you know.
So
what led you to recovery then, to treatment?
Yes.
But the thing is that this is a seesaw, you know. You're up and down and you're up and down and you're up and down, and you have to continue fighting. There are times when I'm overseas. As a matter of fact, once I had decided it's only when I'm overseas that would happen, and I was going good only when I'm overseas, and then it came home. But being overseas and spending all your money, and you're far away from your hotel, and you have to let your taxi driver bring you back to the hotel and wait for you to go inside to give him money. And then you think about the fact, boy, if you didn't find that money inside, you know, that kind of thing. Another time being on a cruise ship. Yeah, on a big cruise ship, and spent every cent on the cruise ship. And even the cruise ships, they give you markers too, you know. When I say give you markers, when you spend every cent and you're coming off, they take all your information and they're going to call you after. And they have their international link up, so they harass you. And you don't want to get in bacchanal, you don't want your name out there, so you take care of it. You make wire transfers or whatever and take care of it. So these are a couple of what I would call my bottom. Once overseas again, and came back so late. Well, I finished so late that I missed all the trains. Trains stopped running. I had to come back in the morning. And when I come back in the morning, the train I stopped I stopped off the wrong place. And walking about a country I hardly know, fighting to find my hotel. And saying to myself, boy, if something happened to you now, what's going to happen? What about your family? What about your children? What about your business? So these are the kind of things that I would call the bottom, that rough
wake up call.
Yeah, wake up call.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of say not the bottom, but wake up calls, because it's a seesaw.
So what if someone listening to you now, and I guess it's more a perilous journey for business owners, right, Wayne and Daniel?
Yes.
Because you're both business owners as well. Yes.
To the funds,
Because you have access to funds and you have some credit rating also until all that is shut. Yes. But somebody listening to you now, Andrew, for folks who just joining us, we're speaking with Andrew on the line. We have Wayne and Daniel in studio, and they all recovering gambling addicts. What would you say to that person right now, Andrew, who's listening and want to reach out for that help?
As quick as you could, call Wayne, talk to Wayne. As quick as you could, talk to your pastor, get some spiritual help.
Talk to somebody.
Talk to your family. Talk to your business associates. Talk to the people who you consider and who consider you. There are people, and you would know the people who, if you go to them, you and this dotishness, how you get it? No, you don't need that. You don't need pampering either, but you need serious, open-minded conversations. You need to talk to people who could give you that support, because support you're looking for. That's the reason people come out. It's support they're looking for.
Andrew, thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. And how long have you been in recovery now?
Plenty years. But as I said, it is a rise and fall. It's a pressure. But you kind of know when you see that rock bottom position you talked about? You kind of know when you're in that kind of situation. Mind you, I'm not telling people to go and try nothing. Don't try it. These things, you don't try them. They just try you. And every time they try you, you fail. So you really have to avoid at all costs. Run away from it. To tell you, God, how bad it is, sometimes you might get in a conversation and you just talk about it. Just talk gambling, and that is a trigger for you. You're watching a TV program and something like that comes on. That is a trigger. And not that somebody is winning, just seeing it. So I heard you all talking about the ding, 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 ding sound.
Yes.
Well, you hear that ding, ding, ding in your car, you hear that ding, ding, ding on music anyway. That could be a trigger. It is horrifying. It is the I suppose one of the hardest things, because if you have an addiction to substance, there are treatments and so that they work. Yes, the gambling, there are also treatments, but more psychological. And also, because it's not something that you end up immediately a vagrant, people don't know what's going on. So that's what makes this so challenging. So I always tell young people who come around my business, young people who come and ask me for help, whatever the case is, I always tell them, don't go there, don't try it, don't go near to it. Every now and then I'll meet somebody who tell me, boy, I win a little small something. I say, boy, it best you give away that small something, because knowing that you win that small something and feeling that you could win more would lick you up. Leave the small something.
Andrew, thank you very much for spending this time with us, and we will keep in touch with you.
Yeah, brother.
All right? Take care.
Thank you.
God bless. And till we speak again. And that was Andrew. Folks, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, of course, and you know, I was glad for this conversation, really. Because,
I was therapy too.
I get my therapy too here this morning, because you know,
just like last week, he getting things off his chest.
Yeah, no, I mean, Natasha will tell you, last time Andrew and I met, I was like, why is he even talking to me? You know, and not knowing, you know, that I had no clue.
Similar. Yeah.
I had no clue. I just had he don't have a smart man. You understand?
Yeah.
I had no clue. And you see, there's other side of people that you really get to to know why they went through things.
Of
and
course.
I'm happy for this. We had this conversation, and as he used the word trigger, we're going to play a PSA for you in a while about alcohol from Paho, which is another trigger during this World Cup football here, because every minute there's an alcohol ad on television.
Correct.
They have even where we stop showing people drinking it, and now they start to drink again. You know, the beer showing, and I could tell you it is a trigger. I remember early in my recovery, I came home from exercising and saw somebody pour a carry beer in a cup and looking to throw that. Hey, listen, I got thirsty immediately for a carb. It is a trigger, but we'll get to that in a while. Before we go to the break, Wayne, you wanted to interject yet?
Well,
what Andrew said?
The thing about it, what Andrew was talking about, struggle. There's always a struggle, even for myself.
Yeah.
Right? But what happens is that once you
chances of relapse?
Yes.
Right.
Once you keep active and you are around people that have the same problem, you know, it helps. Take, for instance, on the Friday, when I come on the Friday meetings and I run it with two other members of the community, Savi and Andy. When people come to me and they talk and I explain certain things to them, it's also a reflection of what had happened to me. So it keeps me in check.
Yes.
So everybody gets help. In fact, we have a chat group. In chat group, we have about 36 people in that chat group.
Mm-hmm.
People who are compulsive gambling and who are in train to get better. Because he was saying about the subconscious mind, talking about the subconscious mind is something that is in the back of our mind constantly. And according to the Gamblers Anonymous booklet we have, the 90-day program, it tells you about that also. In the first 90 days, it's very crucial for you to stop gambling and to change your behavior, try to change your behavior pattern. Unfortunately, people believe just after the 90-day program they're in, with the 90-day booklet, that they're okay.
Yes.
But the problem about that, to change a behavior pattern, you know, it takes, I always say this, you come by rowboat before you reach the Emmanuel Community or seek help. But you know, people want to come by plane, first class, drinking champagne, it don't work so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
After the temporary abstinence of gambling for the first 3 months, there's also the problems of building back relationships, budgeting, seeing where the money goes, the problems with debts, handling debts to cope with, and thinking about other things like the 90-day program say you have to fill the gap with something else. Because you see, the behavior patterns are that if, let's say, after work you go to the casino, the gambling shops, or wherever, you have been doing that for years. When you stop gambling, there's a void.
There's a void there. Correct. Yes.
There's a void. So we have to recognize it's not only this addiction is a habit forming. So you need to come to the meetings until probably about a year and a half. And if you have started changing your behavior patterns, then after a year and a half, you can say that you have a sustained remission, right? Because you would have built up a habit, a better habit now, dealing with things. Now, most times, we are like blinkers. We have blinkers, we only studying one thing. But I always say that if you gambling all the time, the days, the weeks, the hours, you have much more than money you're losing. You're losing time from your family. You're losing time that you could have taken all those hours to do something more constructive. That's God given us that brain to see things, to do things, to help people, that we actually retarding that part of our mind. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because
Daniel,
you're only thinking of one thing.
Daniel, about your recovery process, is there any time that you reach to that point where I wonder if I could go and take up a little $200 extra? How you deal with that?
There are times, because like I said, it is a challenge, and as Wayne always used to say to me, he say, relapse is just as going and take your first bet, right? And I always have to give thanks to God, because every time I feel something like that somehow, I will see Wayne passing. I say, hey, Wayne, I lose your number. I say, let me get it back. And then one time I felt that badly, and I messaged in the group and I said, folks, I relapse. This and this and this was the situation. And Wayne say, well, he ended up messaging me privately and said, come back. I say, Wayne, it's challenging to come back, because most times I'm at home alone with my children. So to come on time to have the meeting, it was challenging. And lately, I ran into some challenges with some bills, and I sat down and I said, boy, that time I think the lot was about 14 point something. And then I was just, when things start, 14 point something, and then there was another time when I said, well, okay, if I want to take a chance here, boy, I said, I could win. And just as Wayne was saying, I sat down and I studied the other side of the coin. I said, you know what? I said, Daniel, after trying out for so long, considering the number of wasted hours away from home, it is not guaranteed that you're going to win. Your chances of losing are greater than actually winning. From the time you're walking the door, you know they're going and target you, because they know any time they let up or they give you a chance, what could possibly happen. So then I say, you know what? I said, Lord, well, I kneel long and pray one time. I said, Lord, here what happened. I said, this is my situation. I said, I don't want to be like a dog and go back to my old vomit. I need another way out. I need help. I need open my. I said, Lord, I'm willing to work for it. I said, open my way where you could send me some clients. I could do what I have to do honestly and be able to get by. I really went through a drought for a very long period of time, because I had to understand, and he made me to understand before he helped me again. Now listen, you got to understand you're wrong people. And before I can open the gates again for you, I have to be sure that you could trust yourself first. And it's a challenge, because the thing is, I told all my friends who were very close to me that I was a chronic gambler, and so much so when I was working at a particular place and my behavior pattern started to change. One of the guys he was working, he came to me, stopped me by the elevator. He said, he said, God, Daniel, don't tell me start back to gamble now. I say, I really start back. He said, come and check me now. He said, let me talk. And I could say that he's one out of the person that I could say is a friend, because I only have about 5. Right? It's a friend. Wayne is family. I don't call Wayne friend. He's family. Right? So, are friends. But Wayne is closer to me than anything else. In terms of, because if I have any inkling of even trying to go back and call him, he said, Daniel, come and see me. He said, make the time. And I will make the time. Because, and I have a surprise him, but I ain't going to tell him now. I'll only wait until and he would see it. Because that's it.
Yeah, right, and one of the things before you go on, one of the things that we hear a lot in drug treatment is that if you're in recovery, when you're in recovery, you stay away from slippery people, places and things.
Correct.
And the same obviously is true for chronic gambling as well.
Because for me, I and Natasha tell you, during the pandemic, when we were home, you know, my trying to get work in Trinidad and Tobago in my field, I remember right at this radio station here, at Gary, when especially on Tragweed Road, I was admonished for wanting to work too much. And because, and I say, but you mean all the we've been educating people in Trinidad and Tobago, they don't understand why addicts have to work and not be idle. Because Tony would call me anytime. And anytime Tony called me, I was available to come and work. I used to call people and say, hey, if you're feeling to come to work, let me know, you know. And call me, I come to work. And I was called before the boss for doing that. They didn't understand that me working was keeping me off and saving my life. Correct. And instead of that, they took away that from me. So now I had to tell Natasha, let's start an NGO, let's start a company, because I have to keep busy. Yeah. I didn't build a whole gym by myself because I didn't have nothing else to do. It's because I could not stay idle. Ask Natasha, I don't stay idle. Anytime I woke myself to the point where I fall asleep watching TV, because I have to keep moving, otherwise this devil would grab me. True. And people need to understand that. So when we want work, it's not like we're trying to show up nobody. It's because we're trying to keep ourselves out of danger.
Right.
Very true. You know,
fill that gap.
And fill that void that Wayne just spoke about.
Yeah.
You're listening to Dependency, folks, and if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Daniel and Wayne in studio. We just had a chat with Andrew that's speaking about their recovery. Guys, let's go to C. Gamke interview.
B, actually. It would be B.
B?
We... The sex trafficking is serious.
Okay, in the UK at the office.
Yes.
After this, we take a break and then return. We go into the other aspect of the program, which is the illegal and what we could do, how we could support the state where that is concerned. And, of course, that eye-opener. Remember, somebody asked us about discussing addiction to alcohol. Well, this is the period here, Christmas to Carnival. And before we go to that video, one sign I always show people, you see when you have your Christmas function in your workplace, just put somebody to stand by the alcohol table and you will see who are the ones in your company who are alcoholics. Very simple. We'll explain further. Let's go to that, Gary. Let's go to video B.
According to Andy, the modern world has embraced gambling as an acceptable leisure activity, and 75% of adults in the UK gamble in some way. However, it's also recognized as an activity that can cause potential harm. It is at this point that GamCare intervenes, and where a similar intervention needs to be made in Trinidad and Tobago by government, by the gambling industry, and by citizens in general.
Over, I suppose, the last 30, 40 years, you'll have seen in this country, and I think in many other countries, gambling, that long ago was perhaps characterized as being something that was evil, that was something that was perhaps illegal. Immoral. We've moved from where the approach to it was, maybe it's something frowned upon, something we don't talk about, it's something that shouldn't really be happening and is evil, to a situation now where it's an accepted part of society, it's an accepted part of leisure activity. People like a flutter, people like to enjoy casinos, people enjoy lottery games. Naturally there is an interest in. Actually our latest, for Great Britain, the latest statistics show, I think that something like 75% of adults gamble in some way. That may only just be buying a lottery ticket every now and then, but they gamble in some way. And in a way, we're now in a society where we're saying, there's nothing wrong with that. What we do is then say, okay, like a lot of other things, gambling has a potential social harm. So you need to recognise that, make people aware of it, and do what you can about it. And that's where we come in, that's where GamCare comes in.
As widespread as gambling activity is, there is still a stigma attached to being a problem gambler. Adrian explains GamCare uses their helpline and other means to educate individuals on how to help gamblers to recognize they have a problem and seek help.
The impact on the family member is acute. I think is almost as damaging as on the actual person who gambles. But then if you are faced with a partner or son or a daughter or even a family friend who really doesn't recognise that, then it is very difficult, because the first question they would ask on the helpline is, how can I get him to change? As what can I actually do? And the answer, if you're not careful, will come back as, well, actually, technically there's very little to do. But one of the things that the way we do work is to try, really on several levels, is one, to try and reduce the stigma of gambling. And I think that's very important, because you're right, it's not fun. It's not fun when you're losing all your money and you can't afford to go on holidays or feed your children. It's not fun at all. But in the mind of a gambler, there's often the thought of, well, I'm not going to be understood. They just basically say, I'm doing wrong, why can't I stop? And I can't stop. And so you get a whole kind of, almost like a resistance build up. And the way that we've worked, and I think very successfully, is through trying to educate, which is what we're trying to do more of, is to make an understanding of gambling and how actually people think and do behave. Now, if we can do that, there's a chance that the gambler might well be, okay, I'm about to lose my wife, my kids, my family, my reputation and everything else. Okay, I'm going to give GamCare or whoever else it is a call, because at least they will understand me. I'm not going to be judged, I'm not going to be criticised. And that's absolutely a crucial step, because if they can make that first step, then we can work. But often in a gambler's mind there is a fear, no one's going to understand me, I'm just going to simply be saying, why can't I stop, etc., 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 so no one's going to take any notice. And education and prevention is absolutely so crucial in terms of doing that. And public awareness and media work, and also within the gambling industry themselves, actually having our leaflets which they can look at and actually see what's going on and make a recognition, because sometimes you don't even recognise that yourself.
Thank you for staying with us. That was two clips, well, a clip from the program that we did featuring the interview with GamCare. At the time, it was the CEO and Executive Director, Mr. Scarf and Mr. McClellan, who were talking to us about the origins of the organization and the kinds of interactions that they have with people who call their hotline. And he also, I think Mr. McClellan also mentioned the fact that the industry, they often come in for some flack by accepting funds from the industry to do the work that they do. But in their minds, it is part of the industry's obligation to do that because of the tremendous profits that they make off of people who gamble.
Yep. So what we'll do, let's go to that break, Gary. And when we return, we'll hear, ask Wayne and Daniel to give us some more advice. And Wayne will tell us more about the restoration group, how people can get in touch. Folks, you listen up, because we know there's someone you know who needs this intervention right now. And we're going to provide that information for you. So stay right there. We'll be back.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago.
The sex trafficking thing is a serious thing in a way.
Sex trafficking? I thought it was only human trafficking it have.
But what do you mean?
No serious thing, boy. Where you get that from? I don't know about human trafficking, me about sex trafficking.
So how can you spot and identify perpetrators and children who are victims of trafficking? Many victims who are children do not look like under 18 years old. Child victims often move escorted around alone or in small groups. They also live in shared and even packed rooms and have very little clothing and belongings. Child victims are often seen with adults who are not their parents, their relatives, or their caregivers. migrant children are often unaccompanied and separated from their parents. Child victims are often engaged in work that is not suitable for children. They are often deprived of their freedom to go to school, to play, and to enjoy being a child. Perpetrators have unexplained sources of income and possessions. They are businessmen and businesswomen running legitimate and illegitimate businesses. Perpetrators may appear to be the victim's friend, boyfriend, close relative, or employer.
We are the counter-trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Some of us like to play games of chance, but remember, gaming should be fun, so don't get carried away. Play for a prize, but don't pay the price. Play for fun, but never for keeps. Play smart, but never play all. Winning isn't everything. If you or someone you know needs help, call our gambling addiction hotlines. Rebirth House 24-hour hotline 466-3146 or Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women 794-7980. An initiative of NLCB and Eye on Dependency.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone.
At Guardian Group, we've seen so many of our customers achieve great things. So, it's no surprise that after 175 years, our optimism is stronger than ever. Because when you've partnered with people to achieve their best lives as long as we have, you tend to see the world a little brighter every day. Guardian Group. Live easy.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
All right, thank you for staying with us, folks. You're listening to Dependency, and we're in our last legs here as we head to the top of the hour. Those of you who have any questions for Wayne and Daniel, please feel free to give us a call. But in the meantime, let's go to number 11 and the last promo block, Gary. And this is Kyron Pollard representing, and we won't ask Wayne and did a comment on this, but this Kyron. No, which one?
It's 11, yes.
Yes, right. Let's go to 11. Illegal, yes.
Illegal, okay.
And this is a camp.
50 by 20, 50 by 25.
This is Kyron Pollard. When you play, do it the legal way. Don't bet on illegal gaming.
Some of us like to play games of chance, but remember, gaming should be fun, so don't get carried away. Play for a prize, but don't pay the price. Play for fun, but never for keeps. Play smart, but never play all. Winning isn't everything. If you or someone you know needs help, call our gambling addiction hotlines. Rebirth House 24-hour hotline 466-3146 or Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women 794-7980. An initiative of NLCB and Eye on Dependency.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays, at 10 a.m., and exclusively, on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live.
Take on illegal gambling, which they're trying to stamp out. And their response or their collaboration with us to support those problem gamblers and their families.
Yes, and remember, folks, that as much as we have to look at everybody, because we have alcohol distillers here, we have Whitco here, and you all enjoy what they produce. You all sit and look at television and get enticed by it, and it's time we call on them to be responsible corporate entities and following the steps of the NLCB. The NLCB contributes millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to the stabilization fund and sports and culture fund, and while illegal gambling, they run away with all. They don't care. They don't care who gets sick. They don't care who dies. They don't care who family they mash up or destroy. They just take the money and run. And you know who we're talking about. So, again, we would like to, I can't stop saying this, commend the NLCB for at least looking out for problem gamblers. Even though, and we look forward to more being added to the arsenal, which is by putting up more posters, and of course, eventually we'll get to print those hotline numbers on the back of all scratch tickets, lotto tickets, playway tickets, you name it, all it as obtained in other jurisdictions. Because if you look at the US, UK, and Canada, on the back of all their gaming tickets, they have hotline numbers, all, every last one. From dollar scratch go right up to the 100.
And that's mandatory.
So, and speaking of which, Wayne, can you give some advice to government on how they could go about with these gaming machines and the odds that you spoke about, and what advice would you give?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that the thing about it is that the gaming machines and the roulette machines there's no chance you're going to be a winner. Even if you win, you still lose. There's no legislation, as I spoke about earlier, to really check on all these machines, what they are doing. It's supposed to be fixed odds betting, but there's no warning about odds. There's nobody to check, right?
And no obligation on the
owners
people
of the machines. People are making money out of it. The addicts themselves, they're so caught up, they don't realize that the lies are being told about winning big in these machines. They lose money. I would say that the best thing the government could probably do is to get legislation in place to check on these things. As I said before, in the United States and in England, they do have legislation for these things. And even in those places, they are addicts. They contribute also to rehab centers to help problem gamblers. The Emmanuel Center and the Rosalina Street have tried to do their part with limited resources for the past 25 years or so. We are guided by God also. This thing is a monster that eats away at the core of society silently. It's a hidden disease. Where this is going to take us, doing the work at the Emmanuel Center, only God knows, but we are willing to follow the path that He has given us to help problem gamblers. For families and people are in distress, you can call our number at 62-810-64. Somebody would talk to you, or if you leave a number, somebody will get in contact with you. and we'll try to help you. This is only going to work if the problem gambler is willing and have the desire and wants to stop gambling.
Want to surrender.
Well, wants to surrender.
Yes.
All right?
And we have Beverly online morning, Garth and Natasha, and guests experiencing internet problems, being in and out. Gambling is a serious addiction, especially among the elderly. Gambling is a recreation for them, so they don't see it as a problem. And that is so true. And this is Beverly Mawson of his Serenity Place. You just heard in the ad that you can call as well. If you could also WhatsApp on that number, I think, Beverly, you could guide us, please, and let us know if someone, this is Empowerment Center for Women. Yes. All right, Daniel. Folks, you can call us at 622-3937 if you have any questions or comments.
What I would say is this, just as you're trying to have sexual education from, in primary schools, all the way up to secondary school, is even tertiary education, gambling is something that also should be, any sort of addiction should also be educated to these young people, because this is all about education. Once you understand the risk, you can make better choices. And a lot of the times we get into things and we don't know the risk. As I say to my children, do not try anything, because if you try it and you like it, to break the habit is a challenge.
It's almost like making a deal with the devil, you know.
Yes. Once you
say that, you know.
Yeah. Once you push a door, and you open it, it's very hard to close it back.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to God and to Auntie Natasha.
Morning.
My brother name there is Wayne.
Wayne and Daniel.
Right, Wayne and Daniel. Calling from Ari Village, Princestown.
Yes.
It's the best I've ever heard so far. But I just take a little choke and play away and pick two, and I want the cash pot earlier. But you see those big casino business? No. But here what's happening. No, gentlemen, you all see this pass cash. You see that pass cash. Hello, in a half an hour, you can win $2,000 to $3,000, but you could lose very, very fast, and you could win very, very fast. Because I know a lot of people, big women, men, and most of them, when they stand there by that pass cash to the boot, sometimes in their hours. So that pass cash to that is that deadly. Why? Because it is every 3 minutes, It's every 3 minutes. But away, my friend, it is so nice that you can try to help those who are addicts, and I know a lot of henna. I just be seeing all in those rum shops and think, oh boy, everybody, it's just game and game and game and game. But thanks and great show.
Okay, my friend. Thank you very much for your support. Gary. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Gat, and good morning, Natasha.
Morning.
Gat, first thing I'll tell you, please stop abusing that tire. All right?
The tire?
Yes, please stop abusing that tire. I jealousy, brother. Gat.
Yes?
I actually owned a lotto booth for a period of time. Okay? I had one of the most popular lotto booths, the bottom of Henry Street, just before City Gate. City Gate has a traffic flow of roughly close to about 100,000 going, 100,000 coming at the time. So we were quite popular. But one of the things I recognize, I never played with. Every now and then I would take a chip in a lotto. But early in the game, I recognized that you're going on gambling, you can't win. And you wouldn't believe, I owned the lotto booth, but I would try to ask people, why are you gambling? Why are you gambling? Why are you gambling? My conscience beat me so much that I'd reach a point where the Lord keep talking to me and say, you walk away from this. No matter what, although I owned the lotto booth, I couldn't see my profit. I couldn't see my profit. The young people who were coming to be operators, eventually, most of them found themselves touching the money. Everything around that that realm, you could never see your way. You could never see your way. But one of the things I recognize, a lot of older people, pensioners, not before even became pensioners, people actually gambling away their pension. So there's a body of people who cannot retire because that safe money that they would have had as their pension, they actually gamble it away, play with lotto. Well, I got out of it over 10 years now. And from the time I got out, I actually walked into lottery board and I told lottery board, I don't want this machine. I say it's wrong. I don't want this machine. Because I thought I would not prosper because the thing about it is, you have it there and you feel it's a form of income, yet I'm not seeing my way. And from the time I give it up, brother, I've seen my way in more ways than one. But what worries me is the people who, just like the brother said, because several games came after. And that's why I can't understand with lottery board. Why are we constantly, yes, you look at the illegal ones. I'm looking at all the illegal ones and they're wrong. But we have an organized body here that's putting things into the society. People used to come and spend the day almost in front of my play on lotto booth, and I couldn't understand why. And I would tell them, please, don't gamble, don't gamble, don't gamble. You know, because they get hooked. And I'm watching this, and women, I will close with this. I recently met a young lady, 24 years old, who told me she ran up a debt in a casino of over $400,000. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. As a nation, we have to wake up. We have to wake up because you see, this, as you guys say, there's a domino effect that's happening. $400,000. How does a 24-year-old run up a debt, sit down in that place and run up a debt of $400,000 debt? So things are wrong. So we need to fix this. And it's not just about saying it. I know the heads above listen to your show. We need to stop this. You guys are doing fantastic work. They're getting information. From information, we need to bring transformation. It's education.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Before we go to that, and that was Derek. Thank you, Derek. Really appreciate that intervention there this morning. Guys, let's go to, before we speak with Andrew, let's go to 13 and let's put the people on notice of what is to come. Look at this, folks. Or listen if you...
You'd be right if you say they are intoxicated. But what if I told you that we all have a drinking problem? No matter how much you drink, one thing we can all agree on is that alcohol can ruin lives. When we consider liver disease, road injuries, violence, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and suicides, alcohol is responsible for taking the lives of over 3 million people every year. Yet, it is available almost everywhere at any time, branded and marketed to every demographic, and it's cheap.
Fuera de aquí. Vamos, fuera.
Even if they don't have ID, they can always just buy drinks online. We pretend that these ads are harmless or somehow good for the economy. But have we stopped to consider the real cost? Who is really profiting? Me? You? I wonder. As even governments lose badly as their revenues are a fraction of the real costs. Maybe those who lobby and challenge the regulations designed to protect us have a vested interest. We want our communities, our health, and our lives to be free from commercial interests. If we want to see change, then we have to push for policies that protect people. Enough is enough. It's time to take action.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page. and YouTube channel.
Morning, Andre.
Oh gosh.
Thank you for that introduction, God. Thank you very, very much. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. But you know, in my view, this is my view, and this is why I have always believed that it's only gamble where you could lose, right? So that's in other words, you should never gamble more than you could lose. So when you gamble, you should know there's a strong possibility you could lose, and if you can't lose, then don't gamble. That's how I think. Anyway, back to what it is. We're here at the 63 restaurant and pub, and we're talking football because the first half has just been completed in the second day of round of 16 matches, France versus Poland, and in the last 4 minutes of the first half, Olivier Giroud scored to give France the lead, and also became the leading goal scorer of all time for France. He was equal on goals, 51 goals with Thierry Henry, another Arsenal man, and now he has gone ahead of him. So well done indeed to Olivier Giroud. And I know Natasha knows that because she's Arsenal, obviously.
Of course.
So well done to Olivier Giroud. France has really looked good, but you've got to say that certainly Poland had some good chances, and I've got with me former Trinidad and Tobago football coach. He's here with us, Peter Granville. Peter, your thoughts and welcome.
Oh yeah, Andre. I tell you what, 3 blinding saves, 1 by the keeper, 2 by defenders. Varane in the end. Poland almost taking the lead there. However, I always maintain that Giroud have been the most underrated player in the entire world, I think, as a striker. And again, he showed his class, a fantastic finish there, and I still say Andre 3, so I still give him 3-1. I still say 3-1.
And I must tell you guys and Natasha that we have a pretty good crowd here assembled early in the morning to watch this game. The majority, I would say 95%, so maybe even 100% supporting France, except me. They're just to be difficult. I'm trying to support Poland, obviously, and irritate them, and it's working so far until the goal scored, obviously, right? But nevertheless, it's been that sort of game where you know that France are going to come with everything they have, and Poland are going to wait for that one chance, particularly with Robert Lewandowski, and I think they still are in the game because, as we know in football, 1-0 is not a good lead.
Correct.
1-0 is not a good lead, Garth and Natasha, and they're going to have to really play good football. Nice atmosphere, but everything building, I think, towards the game at 3 o'clock between England and Senegal. Some of the England fans already here. Natasha, people in the England jersey, they come here early, I tell them, I say, come early, because I keep telling them Senegal is not going to be an easy team. They're going to run at Harry Maguire. If they put Harry Maguire in the back, they're going to run at him. They're certainly going to give them some pressure. It's really going to be a nice game, and I think it's building up well for that.
One question, Andre, before you go. Even if Poland goes out today, do you think Chesney has a shot at the Golden Glove for this tournament?
I think certainly, because as they stated during the commentary, he has made 25 saves so far, which is much more than any goalkeeper in the last World Cup. Courtois for Belgium made 24 saves, right? And he already has 25. So I mean, he has made some outstanding saves. But you know how it works. They normally will give the goalkeeper who reaches the finals will normally get that. That is just how it is, as the case may be. Unlike goal scorers, where they can't change it because they can actually measure it based on goals scored. In terms of this, they always tend to give the goalkeeper that reaches the final. So, for instance, Loris, who I think is a complete madman, obviously, right? if his team reaches the final, if his team reaches the final, he might get it, but he really is doing incredibly bad things. Really, at the end of the day. Peter, before we go quickly,
well, I expect a good second half. Poland is not going to roll over. Like yesterday, Argentina, I think that France will be looking for that buffering goal.
Please, don't compare.
But as you're speaking about keepers, you know who's my choice? The Japan keeper, you know.
Oh, okay, yes, true.
He has been phenomenal.
He has been
phenomenal for me.
Tremendously well for his team.
Oh yeah.
All right, so gentlemen and lady, that's the situation here at 63. Nice atmosphere, and in terms of the food, I understand they're cooking macaroni pie. So if you don't want to cook today, you can come down to 63. There's a lot of food. Some food I don't eat. I don't eat pork, but there's a lot of pork, and there's a lot of people trying to eat a lot of pork, and they're coming for that certainly. But there is chicken for those, and there is fish as well. And so there's a lot of food on offer just after 12 o'clock. So come here, come celebrate, and come and relax and enjoy the atmosphere. Thanks very much, Cousin Natasha. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, folks. Yes. See, and we come back and wrap up.
I can see clearly now the rain is
At Guardian Group, we've seen so many of our customers achieve great things. From key moments when together we've planned for the future to those unforgettable days when you've celebrated the rewards of those great decisions. So, it's no surprise that after 175 years, our optimism is stronger than ever. Because when you've partnered with people to achieve their best lives as long as we have, you tend to see the world a little brighter every day. Guardian Group. Live easy.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
So, Daniel, last word from you.
Yes, as I was saying, education is key for any addiction because we have to understand that when you start one, it's a door opening for you to start many others. So if you must, do so cautiously, but I would much rather and prefer that, you try to abstain as far as possible, especially if you're compulsive. And if you recognize that you're having a challenge, or if you reach to the point where you're spending your last to make that bet to try to get back, seek help, and seek help immediately.
Wayne?
I just wanted to say thank you for the people involved who have helped with this show, with this interview, to get the word out. And I just want to close with a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you and we praise you, Lord God, for the time spent here. We ask, O Lord God, that this message may go out to our lovely land of Trinidad and Tobago, and it may be fruitful. We pray for all the addicts that are out there that are still struggling and their families. In Jesus Christ we pray, amen.
Amen, Wayne. Thanks a lot, my friend. Tasha, thank you again, once again. And folks, remember, those of you who now live in YouTube, remember to like and subscribe to our page, as we would like those numbers of subscribers, and click on that bell so that when we go live, you will know what we're going to do. All right, when we are on. And to those of you out there who's struggling with addiction, remember, nobody can help your son, daughter, husband, wife, or even you if you don't admit that you have a problem and you need that help. It starts with that first. We are not miracle workers. All we do, we had our journey, and now we're trying to help others on their journeys. Daniel, Wayne,
very much,
Andrew. Coming up next,
Major
we
news
have
at
major
12.
news with another news addict being at face.
Wow.
Janelle Wilson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
12 o'clock news, yes.
Thanks, God. You see, I didn't need the whole thing, God. I made a mess here.
Stay careful.
Broadcasting from Port of Spain, Trinidad, this is the most influential name in radio, I-95.5. Live local coverage you can depend on. This is News Center 5 at noon.
A double homicide in Chaguanas. Voting underway in the PNM internal elections. An opposition MP slams the government over gas shortage in areas affected by floods. And Palestinian man killed by Israeli forces in occupied West Bank. The EU is calling for a thorough probe.